So we still need to question the animancers. And 2 studies now complete. Nice. Right, so there's still a patient we need to find down here. Ah, let's misplace that notes. I wonder what could have happened with that. Moderate. So he's scribbling feverishly on a parchment scroll.
Hail and well met.
Anything unusual? I mean, that's kind of fair. Nothing's usual. The patients seem more agitated lately. But they're Caveman Azo's responsibility. So maybe Caveman Azo is who we should be talking to. Which, that's one of the things we've been fighting. So a Hollowbon who received a transplanted animal soul during infancy. That's not going to work. It is a very odd solution. So they were trying to do something about the crisis, better than letting it swallow a generation of children. And despite the controversy, it only went so far because at first it seemed to work. People called it the salvation. Children that had never been responsive to any kind of stimuli suddenly seemed aware of their surroundings. So the complications didn't begin until puberty. And the children became violent and ravenous. Yeah, that doesn't sound great. So it was the cruel salvation. Okay. Valiant woman studies awakenings. Okay. Was that Valian? Okay. Anything to look at here? Oh, no, I do not want to attack. Right. I'm just going to work my way down the doors. Ah, there is a person in here. Ripley.
Hail and well met.
I'm investigating suspicious activity. Ah, Master Azo's assistant. So he's in the middle of an experiment with patients. Okay. So she lets some stuff slip, but she can't gossip. How would I get into the patient ward? Head Warden Ethemo does, but he's a statue. So I could go and talk to the statue. I mean, that's what the quest just said to do. So I probably should do that. But there's one last room to look at. And it's empty. Right. So the guards aren't going to let me in. So I guess we should go and talk to the statue and see what's going on. Because I think we might have our culprit. But we'll have to see if the statue agrees with us.
Hail and well met.
So Caveman Azo is running experiments. So he's in charge of patient welfare. He's not authorized to run any experiments. He had hoped that he'd be the one to guide our inquiry. So he'll be in his office or in the patient wards. I'm granting you immediate access so you can find him. No doubt you'll wish to speak to him further on this matter. Tread carefully in the wards, there are a few dangerous cases. Do not agitate the patients. That's fair. I don't know how he's going to communicate to the guards that we're allowed in. That would be interesting. Let's see if they just let us in. Ah. So can he do long-range telepathy kind of stuff? Aha, right. So I must be visiting someone. Okay. Have any of the patients been acting unusually? So Batixa, who lives a murder she committed more than 5 lifetimes ago. Riddleman, who this only has half a soul. Graham speaks in a language no one understands and wails at night sometimes. So Master Azo lets us know that a number of his patients in the North Ward have volunteered for a new therapy. So the North Ward has the most troubled cases. would offer to visit the North Ward. They think Master Azo is very sympathetic. Where would I find Azo? He's been around today. He could be in the laboratory. It shares a wall with his office. So many animators could care less about their patients. They're less like vermin for their experiments, but Master Azo treats us like humans. So he's helped her understand a great deal about herself. Okay, so Azo had an accident. So people say it was his ego that drove him to try and solve his legacy, but that's hogwash. Even if he was a bit of a showman. He loves his homeland. So not a soul exactly, mind you. How do you put it? A proxy. It's a machine that drew energy out of the very ether. So he's summoning souls? So it was going to help with the legacy. It was going to make Hollowborn into something easy to love and care for. Okay, that's a little bit morbid. Anyway, Master Azo has scheduled a public demonstration of his work in Copper Lane. And the next day he was locked in his office, turning away visitors. Stopped seeing patients. Something had happened. Are we going to try flirting with her? So the last few years haven't been kind to her. Haven't been kind to anyone, really. So she lost her husband and both of her boys in the Saints' War. Her daughter, the legacy, took her before she was ever hers. So she moved into a tiny place in Ondra's gift, got by men in clothes and was on the kindness of strangers when she had to. She was surviving and the gods were watching over her. So then a noble woman comes in and wants her fancy gown fixed. But when she saw it, it caused an awakening in her. Interesting. So she remembered being a noble woman herself in another life. Best food, most beautiful home, all the things you never dare to dream of. So all the things she had that she'll never have in this life. It did something to her. Okay. So we need to go to the North Ward. But also the laboratory was next to his office, so down here I'd assume. Oh, don't walk in. Is this the laboratory? I think so. So a round-faced balding man turns to face you.
What is the meaning of this?
I'd like access to the North Ward. I mean, I have been permission to conduct my investigation,
My answer
so...
is no. Whatever you're looking for, those patients will not be infected. The head warden will stand by.
Okay. So Ethelmer told me you're not supposed to be doing any more experiments. So Ethelmer hasn't done much good for anybody since he's had his soul moved into an inanimate object. I mean, that's kind of fair, but he's still helping out. So Ethelmer's right about this fellow. You toy things beyond your comprehension. Seems to me we're very still in the dark.
Are you from Ray and Ceres? Are you Wideman himself, wishing to smite me for my heretical belief in learning who I am and why I exist? You are afraid because men have taught you to be afraid. Because they were taught to be afraid. These things are only beyond our comprehension because of the fears of people like you.
Okay.
Who will solve Wideman's legacy? Some church? Some warrior? It will be an animancer, or it will be no one at all.
Have you tried your experiments on other subjects? Oh, they're not going to read that bit. So they have. No point in lying about it. But now that Ethelmer is involved, there's for volunteers from their patients. and a few brave souls came forward. I mean, if they volunteered, as long as they understood. They were very close at one time to a breakthrough. I'm guessing that's when they were demoted. So that's none of my concern. So let's move on to something else. Okay. So we still need to find a way into the North Ward.